What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Player 2 podcast, the show where we bring on guests who are in or adjacent to the gaming industry that we think has got a story that needs to be told. Today's episode is with Andrew Cramb, who not only is adjacent to what we do here at Millhouse, but he is pretty pivotal in the existence of this studio, this Millhouse studio here at Race Service. When we first met Andrew, Jacob, who owns Race Service, assigned him to chaperone us and help make this idea possible because Andrew has his own podcast and would like to run out of this studio as well, which is Where Are All My Friends, linked below. Go check it out. He's got a huge library of guests, and you'll learn a lot more about Andrew today. He is on a pursuit of purpose. That's something that we discussed during this podcast, and throughout that time, Andrew has encountered loads of different trials and tribulations, whether it's during his tour life with a band, whether it's during starting his own label, starting his own product business in the pet supply world, on Amazon. He's got a lot of stories, and I'm excited for you guys to hear them firsthand today. One thing I will say about Andrew is his resilience for the trials and tribulations that life throw at you is second to none. I've never met anybody that is more positive on a more regular basis than Andrew, and I am super stoked to share the podcast room with him today. So please sit back, enjoy it, and if you do, please don't hesitate to share the episode with a friend. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. It would help us more than you know. So there you go. Enjoy. So you haven't done a podcast for a while, except you and Hayes did a mini podcast setup for Jumble.
We did.
So you kind of warmed up a little bit. Was that because you thought you were coming on the pod? You were like, I'm going to get in the mix, or just because you're like, I'm going to advertise for Jumble?
Man, I think it was maybe a little bit of both. Also, however you want to start it. I love the jump in, but if you want to jump in and then come back to it and intro me and cut it up, whatever you want. I'm following your lead. Because for me, in my head, I'm already being here.
We're in the mix.
I'm like, all right, we got to what's the structure? So this is on you to run the flow. I'm in the passenger seat.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So then you ask and I answer.
Exactly.
Okay. Because part of me is do you want to intro it?
How would you like to intro the episode? This is your episode, Andrew.
I don't know, man. No, it's not like that. I'm honored to be here. You had the good question. I'll jump in. In my head, I was like, fuck, this is so cool. The studio, you and I have both been working on this. This is most likely where all my friends will return. I was like, do we talk about that? But then I'm like, he's got this. He put a whole structure together.
So tell me why you did a little podcast setup for Jumble, Andrew.
So, yeah, it's interesting. Had I really thought about coming back to it, it was good practice for sure. There's something about just setting up microphones and plugging them in and talking. And it's so simple, yet it's so scary isn't the word, but it's there is a hurdle there. And it feels like when you start, you're all right, I got to go. And it felt really good to do it. But that one is an interesting one because there's not going to be a Jumble podcast. But if you look at short form media, you look at how many people cut up clips, and it's awesome. And it's such a great way for social. It's such a great format for social. And it was us kind of making fun of it, of what if you didn't have a podcast, but you just had the format of people talking?
Well, people do that. People do just clips. They'll sit people in a room exactly like this, and they'll sit with a director and be like, right, I need you to just talk about the following topics. They're not in a podcast. It's action, talk about that. They do it, and then you'd be like, cool, now say this hook. And then they say the hook, and it's cool, next topic. Do you guys just sit and talk about bubble guns for 5 seconds? That's a thing now.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And you will never be able to find the actual podcast where the clip came from because you don't look for them anyway. You see it on socials, you scroll and you're away. So there is a world where that would work very well for Jumble.
Right.
Even if you got people in to talk about, tell me about your pet stories. Tell me about horror stories with your pets, or something that your dog's done that really amazed you. Because there's a bunch of crazy videos on the internet of things that cats do and that dogs do and so on.
That's funny that we had that idea and that's already a thing.
Yeah.
Because we were basically just saying let's just talk about our journey. That is a segue to tell you a little bit about it if you want to talk about it. But it's my girlfriend and I started this side quest business of premium pet supplies, focusing on dining or focusing on bowls to start.
Dining for dogs. Dining, very posh.
Dog
but
dining.
The best thing about that for me, before you go into it, I want to preface this for the audience listening.
Please.
Because the reason you guys started it was you compared it to the equivalent of a couple going out on date night and maybe even completing a puzzle. And instead of doing those things, you've decided to work on a small business as your bonding session.
Yeah.
That is unreal to me.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because your relationship with Hazel is fucking sick, and I love watching it.
Yeah.
I love seeing it. The little dates that you've planned in the past that you've told me about going on, sticking googly eyes on, and now you're starting a business.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I think it's just cool to have a person that makes your life better, right? Like, I think that when I think about relationships, it doesn't have to be like a love interest, but talking about this specifically, it is. It's like the people in your life should make your life better, not worse. Like, simple as that. And that was kind of like my criteria in dating. And with her, I feel that fully. Like, it's just like, this is my ride or die. This is my person. We have a ton of fun together. But it's like we're also equally driven. We inspire each other. So it's like we can go fuck around and do our silly dates and our everything being a bit. But then like she's equally as driven as I am, and she's so business minded. But it is interesting because she's taught me more about work-life balance than anyone in my life. So it's not like we're over there being like grind 25/8 like Gary V couple. Like she is like, have a balance, and she's so good at that. But I think the side quest of the business was, what if we like had something that we could have fun with? Like, you know this, you and I work so closely together with Millhouse and Race Service. Like, we work with such premium brands. Like, we challenge ourselves to do like the sickest stuff always. And we hyper focus on the most, every detail for the most niche critics and enthusiasts. And it's like, what if you could take a little bit of that and apply it to a broad audience and something as simple as like a product on Amazon? So for Hayes and I, like she works in that similar industry of like she owns a design studio and she has to do all this client work and she has all these creative ideas. And I think we're very fulfilled in getting to work with cool clients. But it's like, what if you could just take all that fun stuff and do it with a normal company and like fuck around and find out? So for us, it's a side quest of, it's not like we need this to get us out of one day. Like if this works, we're good. It's more just like, what if we could test some of these ideas we see with our own little side quest just to see like, what if we record a podcast and it's not a podcast, but you use it? Does it work? I don't know. What if the branding looked like this? I don't know. Like for her to have the case study of marketing and designing a brand and all that, it only makes her better at her job. So it's kind of just like this fun case study to see like, it's us taking a college class, you know?
Yeah.
It's continuing education.
I love that. That's the continuing education is something of a thread that I'm going to kind of get through, I imagine, with this one. I'm excited to see that develop because already when I look at Jumble, it's only just begun. And I look at it, I'm like, this looks like such a fucking premium brand that should be in Harrods out of the gate, and these guys aren't even taking it like seriously.
Dude, that's awesome. Thank you. I mean, in all reality, by the time this comes out, like the brand might not even be available to market yet, you know? But then again, like this is a case study. Like some pro would be like, you should never talk about it like this before it launches. I'm like, I don't know, I'm learning, I'm trying. And our whole thing is like, let's just talk about it early. Let's share it. Cause not every one of our friends is going to have a dog that needs this bull. At least that's what the brand is starting. But like, what if we can share, like, that's another part I didn't talk about is like sharing these experiences is like, instead of being all gatekeepy about business and like all this, it's like, hey, it's us. Like we're learning how to trademark a product and like, here's who we used. And like, this is what we're doing for our email list. Like the first 100 people, like we're going to hook you up with something special. So follow the journey along. Like we're in the sampling stages. That's what it is right now. So it's like, we're sharing all this way earlier than it going to market, just to show our friends, like to inspire our friends to be like, go do the thing. I don't know.
Exactly.
So I hope that also from that, we're sharing like an inspirational side of anybody that's thought about starting a business. Here's us. Like we're just some regular people that are trying our best, and one step at a time, it's a lot less intimidating. So like, let's share that journey. And I think that's important.
And it's not that serious.
Right.
And if anyone who's going to shine the light on it's not that serious, it's definitely you two. So I love it. And obviously we did touch that you were doing like the Not podcast.
Yeah.
But you have recorded 100+ episodes of a podcast yourself already.
Yeah.
How many is it?
I think it's at 192 right now, 191, 192 of episodes publicly out.
Yeah.
I definitely have crossed 200 just because I don't know if you've experienced this yet with the podcast, but for me, I always want somebody to have this episode as a time capsule and something they're proud of.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes on and does an episode and they don't like it, scrap it.
Yes, exactly.
Like I never want to put something out that somebody will regret. And I've even taken some episodes down that I've been really proud of, but the people are just like, hey, I don't think this represents me anymore. And I'm like, no worries. So
come back, do it again.
Call it 200.
I had a call today with the guest for tomorrow, and it was exactly that. He was like, I'm willing to go all in and tell you everything, but only if you have the ability to send me it and have the courtesy for me to can anything. I was like, yes, obviously, of course, dude. Like this is not like something I'm doing where I'm going to like, everything you say is on the record. I'm not a journalist. I'm like just here. I want to talk to cool people. Yeah. For me, the conversation doesn't even have to go online. I get most of what I get out of it here. Yeah. I put it online for other people. Yeah. You know, so I'm happy to edit it and structure it and even can an episode completely.
Totally.
And I'm also reviewing the episodes myself. And I'm confident to can an episode myself and say, hey, this wasn't filmed in the right way. I didn't approach it correctly. I didn't get the right content out of you.
Yeah, totally.
Let's do that again.
That was my early episodes. A lot of them are out, but I think there was one where I was just like, man, I didn't guide it the right way. Like, you're cooler than this. Like, I remember one of my really good friends, like I had toured in bands with him and like we did it and it felt very like both of us just putting on a show. And I was like, you're my homie. Like what? Like this should just be us talking. Yeah. So we ran it again. So that happens.
That's love. I love that. Yeah. So from the podcast, I'm curious, what is it, if you can pinpoint it to one thing, you might not be able to, but what is it you get out of podcasting?
One thing is hard, but I think it's been such an incredible journey of learning. You know, you said you think a theme is continuing education. Like when I started the podcast, I felt so lost. Like I had come to LA, I was working in the music industry, and I really believed in myself and I knew I was good at stuff, but it wasn't connecting. And I felt like the music industry was so gatekeepy. I felt like people didn't want to share information. I felt like people were too cool for school. And I was like, what if I could just share more and learn from people? So it's like one thing that I've learned from it. Like that was the intention behind it, was to share and learn. And I've always interviewed people as like a proxy. I always think about the proxy listener. I think about the person with the headphones on listening. And I have a couple like direct people I think of when I'm asking these questions. But one of them is like young me. It's even a little earlier than when I started the podcast, but I'd say like early mid 20s where I was really confident in myself, but also like knew there was so much more and didn't know how to get there. So I ask all those questions from a place of like share, but like, I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint like one specific lesson out of like all of them.
But I hear what you're saying though when you say you come into a world of the music industry where everyone's very gatekeepy. Yeah. The gaming industry is very similar, I'm finding. Maybe it's less of a gatekeep as a definition and more of it's still a very young industry. Mm-hmm. And maybe no one's kind of established it in a way where we can be collaborative across the board. There's a couple of companies like 100 Thieves and Optic doing it pretty well. Yeah. But I still think it's not anywhere near the size of the music industry where people can become gatekeepers and kind of block it all off. Yeah. But it's interesting that you said that you were so confident going in, but then you felt very lost. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm curious because that's something that a lot of people listening will have experienced, could be currently experiencing. Yeah. You know, you think something like, I really want to go and start this side business where I make dog products. Yeah. But you get into it and you realize you're nowhere near as good as you thought you were going to be at it. And that they can then send you the other way and dig you into a hole of feeling lost. Right. So tell me about that scenario when you were feeling lost and then how you maybe even climbed out of it. And if you think the podcast was that thread to climb you out, I'm interested about that.
Good question. I guess I'll start and bring me back if I tangent it. But like the feeling lost feeling, I think like my life was very interesting with how I got involved in music. Like my very, very short summary of early life was like dropped out of school early, got a job just because I wanted to buy a car. And like, it was like a very weird school situation. It was like dropped out early, got a job, went to college briefly, but was paying for it personally and was like, I can Google this. So right around that time that I was like, every semester, I was like, is it worth it to be coming out of my pocket? My friends started a band and I started touring with them. And that band worked. Like I felt, I didn't know music. I can't play music, but I was like, something is special here. And I just had a feeling. And the band got signed. We got to travel the world. I was originally their merch guy. Then I was their tour manager. Then I was their business manager. And I really helped them develop the business of the band. And it fully worked. The band was called Set It Off. Still going. I love them. Like such good homies. And that experience, it was really interesting because call that 18 years old up until 24, 25. That was my thing. I was all in on that. And it was like, okay, this feeling of like, if you apply yourself, you're going to succeed. Mm-hmm. And then around 25, they were making music that I don't want to say I believed less in, but it was like creatively they were going in a direction and I was like not fully in. And I was like, this is your guys' band. This is your music. Like, why should I influence that? I was like, I'll go do my own thing. Like I can go do this again. And I'm so happy I did that. And like, we're again, still such good friends because of it. But it was very humbling to leave that. And I immediately got a job at the record label that we had signed to, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. And I all of a sudden, like 18 to 24, those are very formative years. And I learned so much and I was so confident off of like what I had learned and done with the band. And then I go to this label and it's not like I have shit to talk about the label, but it was more corporate than I wanted it to be. And I felt a little bit stifled. Like I felt like I was like trying to teach an older dog new tricks.
Yeah.
And I didn't really I don't think I had an ego, but I didn't really get taken seriously. And I was doing kind of grunt work. And it was very humbling to just be like, oh shit. Like it's not like every single thing you apply yourself to just works. Yeah. So here I am at 24, 25 years old. I've moved across the country. I've left Florida. I've left everything I had. I'm in California for the first time. I'm not even living in LA. The label is in LA.
So when you got the job at the label, that forced a move as well. So you left the band, forced to move. You're pumped. Yeah. You know the creative freedom of working in the band with your friends, leading the charge yourself, working it all out. Basically startup business vibes. Yes. And then you're thrown into full corporate structure. This is not how it's done around here, kid. Sit back and listen.
Yeah, like if you were to like compare that to like the corporate structure, it's like, imagine like my startup worked and I exited and I had enough of an exit to like be sort of comfortable, except for music industry isn't like that. Like I wasn't out there getting paid or I wasn't like paid fat to leave, but like the startup worked, I left. And then I went to like go work with a big company.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, I'll be able to revolutionize this. And like, and they were like, oh no, like we're good. We already put this product out. Like we don't really want to revolutionize. And I was like, shit. So for me though, and the sequence is a little bit different, or like I'm making it go fast for this, but I come to California and I don't have money like that. And I'm very much on a budget and the label job didn't pay like crazy at all. It was very much like prove myself. Mm-hmm. So I moved to San Diego because I had a friend there and it was cheap rent. The label is in LA. So I'm driving every other week. I'm in LA for a week, staying on a friend's couch. And then I'm working satellite for a week and like really not making a lot of money. And like, that's that feeling of being lost where it's like, I gave up something successful. I don't really have my community anymore. I don't have the band, some of my best friends. I don't have my friends in Florida. I've given up everything for this. And it's not what I thought it would be.
Is that the lonely part of a lot of like entrepreneurial spirits journeys where they quit what they're doing to go off into the woods and figure out their own shit, do it for themselves. And there's always everyone talks about it who's way more successful than I could ever imagine. They always talk about this. There's a lonely period.
Oh my God. And it sucked. And like, I don't know, like, I think that there's phases of life always. I think there's chapters and all sorts, but that chapter, that time was extremely humbling and it was extremely weird and confusing and lost. Cause it was like, I have this knowledge and I know I'm good at stuff. I helped my friends grow this thing. I took this risk. I don't even want to say like a good job, but like I have a job. I'm young enough, but I know enough. I believe in myself enough where I knew I was good at stuff, but I was reinventing it. And I was very lonely just because it wasn't what I thought it would be. The pay wasn't there. I didn't see a bright future. And like, I didn't see a path of growth. Like I was starting to try to manage bands. And I was like, that's my way out, right? Like that's not salary, that's commission. I can build and grow. And then again, that was very humbling because it's like what my friends and I had with that first band was really special. And I'm really proud of the bands that I worked with. Like every band I managed got signed. And it was like, I feel like there was great success in that, but it was different. And it was like different artists. It was different vibes. It was different struggles. And ultimately I did not feel like I was a manager. Like it wasn't the right fit for me. And I didn't know that at the time, but like learning to like lean into like being great at what you're great at and not worrying about the other stuff. And I didn't like the politics of it. I didn't like the people that I'd have to go network with. So it was very humbling and I was very lost. And this all is me coming back to like how the podcast started. So around that time, I started to think about the music industry, and the music industry was all I knew. I didn't do anything with automotive at the time. And I was like, very much like, how do I share? How do I get out of this? How do I make this better? And I was listening to podcasts like crazy. I was reading books like crazy. And I didn't feel like I related to the people in my circles. So I was like, how can I get out of that? How can I start to have a new network? And that was the beginning of the podcast.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's that, how do I get out? The trapped feeling. For me, it was LinkedIn. There's a similar feeling. LinkedIn was my initial network of getting out of it.
And you had great success on that.
Unbelievable success on LinkedIn. Like,
crazy.
LinkedIn got me out of a jam 3 times in my life. 2 of the times I was a week from, like, the first time was 2 weeks from going broke.
Yeah.
And the second time I was going to go broke in a matter of months with zero plan to go back into the working world. It was to start this. And again, LinkedIn gave me an extra £6,000 at the time, just because I was posting content for them. I was like a creator for LinkedIn, and I applied for this thing. Long story short, there was this little bonus you had to do to get an extra 6K, and I in no way, shape, or form deserved it. I put no effort in for other reasons, and I put all my stuff in, submitted it, and they're like, "Yeah, you're good, extra 6K." Just as I got made redundant from my previous job, so like my time from leaving work to starting Millhouse properly full time got extended so much before me and Evan needed to pay ourselves. Wow. I was so lucky. So LinkedIn was my thread originally. And it stayed my rock for years, actually.
That's so
from
crazy.
The first jam it got me out of to the last jam it got me out of, and I'm sure it'll get me out of a jam again. That was a whole 3 years. And it was great. But it was funny when you say about the band, that was your thing, and like, left them to it. That was me for podcasting, because you and I started podcasting the same year.
So you did a little research and you connected a couple pieces, and I told you, I was like, I don't want to know until we sit down. So did we?
Yes. So you started podcasting in the April of 2019.
That's right.
And that's where you were. And it's funny that it was around that time that you felt quite lost, because I was also feeling quite lost once upon a time in life. And that was 2018, towards the end of it. I was like working for this company. I worked for a very long time, and long story short, I wanted to get out of it. I'll tell that story one day perhaps. And I was just like, I've got to fucking leave this. What am I doing? I started streaming. So exactly what V1 of what that desk is what I started in my garage.
Sick.
I started Amazon FBA, Jungle Scout.
My guy. Like, we're actual friends too. Like, the amount of like you and I and the things we talk about outside, like, it's about time we're sitting down having this conversation, and who knows, let's have a billion of them.
Exactly.
But it's insane how many of like the funny parallels and like hustles and things we've tried.
It's usually just kitchen combos, and we'll throw something in the mix and be like, you bought this, and you're like, fuck yes, same shit. Have you read this book? And so we'll get into these things for sure. There's a lot of them, and I think the learnings is another big thing that's very new to me. But I was doing a golf podcast. And the only reason I was doing a golf podcast is because my really good friend Mitchell wanted to start one. And he had no technical ability. He'll be fine with me saying this. And I worked and managed a golf club at the time. Wasn't interested in golf at all. I was working for a larger country club vibe. And
I imagined when you said you worked and managed a golf club, just one golf club. And I was like, dang, like, instead of a club, Like, you know, because a golf club.
Oh, yeah. Just
and I was like, oh, okay. Don't.
I was distributing the time of this putt.
Yeah. Like, as if it was like a very famous sentient golf club. That's where my head went.
Really?
It took me a second to be like, a club of them.
Arnold Palmer's putter.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I worked with Arnold Palmer's putter itself. I was just so sorry. So you have a podcast where you're managing a club, not a single club, but golf a club course. Of people.
There was 2 golf courses amongst a larger thing. And Mitchell was like, Mickey knows technology.
Boom.
I love golf.
Yeah.
Mickey works at a golf club.
Yeah.
He's going to do my podcast with me. I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Run it.
Let's do it. He was teaching me about Amazon FBA as well at the time.
No way.
Like, we were helping each other. He was definitely helping me a lot more than I was helping him. And we started a golf podcast. 60 episodes later, I was like, what am I fucking doing? I don't like golf. Like, whoa. I play golf.
But it wasn't like that.
Mitchell's like, knows every stat, knows every player.
Can I ask a question on that?
Of course.
60 episodes deep, something that I learned. You asked, what have I learned from the podcast? That do not expect instant success.
No.
190 episodes later with mine, it's not like the numbers are over here giving me any type of like, I can just do this. Like, it is so humbling what it takes to grow it. What was that like for you on that side? Like, did you build a following and a fan base?
Yeah.
You did?
It did pretty well. And it was because golf wasn't popular at the time. And I was in golf and I could see this, like, the people who were in the golf industry are so snobby and so like, you must wear X, Y, Z, collared shirt, pleated trousers. Don't wear your spikes in the clubhouse. Don't you fucking dare wear a cap in the clubhouse.
Don't do it.
And I'm working there and I come in on weekends and I'm wearing a cap and Helen, who owns the place, like, take your cap off. I'm like, fuck.
I manage Arnold Palmer's famous putter. I will wear a cap.
So Mitchell started this podcast before the renaissance of golf.
Yeah.
He actually timed it very well.
Yeah.
And we were interviewing a lot of people on West Coast. We were interviewing people in West Coast of America from England.
Wow.
And because this was where the wave started. There was a bunch of really cool people. It was Tropicana Golf and Barbershop is a place I actually need to go visit. They're based in Southern California.
Yeah.
And then you've got a guy called Ron, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this. Ron Del Barrio. He was like celebrity golf coach, lunatic, ex-heroin addict, I believe, ex-fireman, now golf pro. He was Justin Bieber's coach. Wow. He coached Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore. The actual actor, he coached him.
Sick.
So he was like a crazy guy. We were getting all these crazy characters on because podcasting didn't exist in golf.
So you actually built a following. It worked.
Yeah. And
so why'd you stop? Just because you didn't like it?
I hate golf. And I was lost. That wasn't me. That was exactly the same way you were saying with the band. It was like, I'm going to let Mitchell do this. This is his thing.
Oh, cool. So he kept it going.
He's on 200 plus episodes.
No
now.
way. It's still going?
He's took a little bit of a gas off because he's very successful in recruitment agency. He's now co-owner in a recruitment company based in Amsterdam and he's very busy. Of all of my friends, he is like one of the most corporate fucking juggernauts. He's crushing it. So he's doing that and he keeps coming back to it. I know it's always there, that itch.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing that as a result of that. But back to the point of like being lost, like that's where I was at that point. And it's fun to just do something with a friend and be like, you know what, this is no longer for me. I got to build my own thing. And that's essentially what you were saying.
Fuck, you just made me think of something so important.
Do it.
The word I'm going to say is purpose. And then I'm going to loop back. So like, as you were explaining that to me, I was like, I can't wait to do my episode with you because you have quietly been behind so many successful things and like have grown things very behind the scenes. Because I know some of the brands and people you've worked with. I didn't understand even as much on the golf thing, but you've had objective successes in your career early. Yet we both bond over feeling lost. And I think if you look at me from the outside, you could think that there were some successes or whatever. I'm certainly not trying to like brag like that.
No, you are a very successful human.
No. Please. Stop it. But
you are.
But what I'm trying to say is I think that lost feeling is purpose. And I think maybe both of the things that we were feeling is like, I felt like I lost my purpose. Like, and that's a through line with the podcast that I did start to learn is my podcast, Where Are All My Friends, is like how I built this of creative careers. I don't really care what you do. In the beginning, it was music, but it's like, if it's an inspiring creative career, I probably want to hear from you. a through line that I've learned in almost every single guest is purpose. And I think that's what I was missing. And it was a really weird thing to like, my purpose was so clear when I was with that band in the beginning. Every day I woke up, I lived it, I breathed it, and it was so fun. It was just, we believe in this music and we want to get it to as many people as possible. And I believe in my friends and I want the world to know this.
And it's a common goal with that as well.
Fun game.
Yeah.
And like, even if you didn't like the music, it was like, this band is going to make you smile. Like it's going to brighten your day. Like maybe it's not changing the world, but it was something so beautiful. And then when I left and I went to the label, I didn't have that. And that, I think, it wasn't money. It wasn't any of those successful things. I was like, I didn't have purpose anymore. And I was like, what the fuck do I do? And it was a really weird thing to have had it for so long and be in your mid-20s when all your friends are progressing in their careers and building more and more of it. And then you're at square one and you don't even know where to start. That shit fucked me up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where did that then turn into, all right, this is the direction I'm heading? Because it's not just being able to put your best foot forward and actually go in the right, it's picking the direction. So
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Right? Especially this day and age with the internet.
Oh my God. It's an abundance.
The options are limitless.
An abundance of it. Stephen Fry, I said this in one of the, with Ellie, and I don't have the quote written down with me, so I will butcher it. But Oscar Wilde, at a time when the creative jobs were genuinely just like an artist or an architect, like not very many of them, he would say, it was like, as a creative person, he said, if you know exactly what you want to do, aka if you know what direction you want to head in, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a policeman, if you want to be a builder, great. But that's your curse because that's what you're going to become. Yeah. The way of the creative person is that they do not know what they're going to become. Yeah. And that is the gift. And it's like ever changing. Yeah. But the caveat to that is there's lost feeling and trying to find that purpose and like, where the fuck is it? Yeah. The beauty of it is you just find it along the way and you find it in different places.
Well, I actually I think about this so much because I always trying to like give advice to the versions of myself or anyone, and having felt that and really hating that feeling, it's like, how do you fix that, right? What do you say to the kid that's listening to this right now, the friend that you're trying to give advice to that doesn't have purpose? Because I think as soon as you have purpose, even if you're broke, even if you're working super long hours, whatever it is, you got a pep in your step. Like there's like, you wake up and there's a reason to do it. Yeah. You've seen me in the last couple of weeks. It's been hectic. It's been stressful.
I thought you were going to cancel on me, honestly.
Fuck that.
And there was a world where, and I wouldn't be fine with it, but there was a world where in podcasting, you have to be in the right mindset. Yeah. And I've been busy a lot recently and I was like, we've got to do prep time, got to cram it in. Yeah. And then when I was half an hour out from this pod, I was like, I got it. I'm in. I know exactly where I'm at with it. I know the conversation. I'm golden. I'm cool. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to be there today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even me too, like my energy, like there's like the very like, what's up guys? And then there's like the more chilled. I think I'm like kind of on the more chilled just because I've like exerted so much energy, but I love it because it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway, so you've seen me. I've been super like in it lately, but there's purpose. So I wake up every morning and I have that energy again and again and again. But what do you do when you don't have that? And I think my answer, if I were to break it down and talk to a kid, it's a simple thing of like, what are you curious about right now? Just scratch that, whatever of like, oh, I saw that they started streaming this new game. Or, oh, I kind of started reading a lot of books about this. Or I'm really into cars. Like whatever that thing is that you're kind of doing as a hobby, what are you curious about? Like, what are you on Reddit reading about? What are you watching on YouTube? Like, what are you just doing in your free time? And like, start to just like scratch that itch a little bit more of like, what are you curious about? Because maybe there's something there for you. And that's like kind of how I began to find my purpose again.
Okay. And then while you're doing this pod, then you're finding your purpose, you're pulling a little bit of a thread. You've got that thread. I was curious about
podcasting.
Okay.
So that's what I was curious in. I wasn't curious in music.
Yes.
I didn't care to like schmooze with a bunch of other managers and like learn back-end guarantees and all that. I was like, yeah, it's cool, but like it just didn't feel that. I was curious in inspiring conversations and learning and finding people with a mindset that was bigger. And a lot of podcasts that I listened to gave me that. Mm-hmm. So it was this natural progression of like, well, shoot, maybe I should try. And then in doing that, it was like, okay, it started music, then it evolved to these creative careers. And I think then it's like, if I can help and inspire, the more amount of people that I can help and inspire to be the best version of themselves, that's fulfilling to me, because I needed that and I wanted to do more of that. So it's like, if I can interview a bunch of people that are doing the things they love, then you have this purpose in there. And if I can share 100, 1,000 episodes and stories of people with purpose, maybe I can inspire people to continue to follow theirs. Or maybe say there's some exceptional artist that knows that they're supposed to be doing their art, but they have a somewhat comfortable corporate job. You know that feeling.
Yeah.
It still sucks. And you always feel that weird amount of discomfort until you're just fully locked in on doing your thing and your calling and your purpose. So it's the easiest thing. It's the hardest thing. But I think, like, there we go. It took however long this was. What did I learn with the podcast? It's when you have purpose and you follow it, life gets a whole lot cooler.
Totally agree. I honestly couldn't be in the same boat more.
Yeah.
It's exactly that for me as well. I didn't have a purpose because I was working for my ex-fiance's family business at the time.
Dude.
Plucked out of university. You seem relatively switched on. You're going to learn to run this company.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like a young, naive kind of guy.
And you made decent money doing it, right?
No.
Oh.
I made a very good living. I had I made a very good living because you work for this huge company that I don't have to pay for food. I have access to like the biggest spa in Europe. Instead of having to pay a membership, I can use it. You know, I'm part of this family who are extremely good to me. They're lovely people. It's like huge family vibes throughout. They do the most extravagant events. They're throwing the party and we all get to go along and have a good time. Like the lifestyle I had was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I worked for a hospitality company, which traditionally doesn't pay very, very well at all.
Interesting.
And I grew and learned a lot during that time, but then it got to like it got to a pain point for me.
Yeah.
I was unsuccessful in the deep core of myself because I didn't have a purpose.
Boom.
And people would say, you are fucking sold. Like, you've sorted the rest of your life. You got an angel by your side. Lauren, my ex-fiancée, is a wonderful woman. And, you know, their family's extremely wealthy. Your parents do well for yourself. Like, you must be so pumped. And I'd be like, yeah.
Right.
And deep down, I'm like, I fucking hate this.
Dude, that feeling, it's becomes so hard to fake it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't pull myself to be motivated to work. And especially because I would try and pull things my own way, similar to the way you said when you jumped over the label, you're trying to revolutionize.
Yeah.
I remember I remember the year exactly, actually. It was like teens of the 2014, 15, 16 era. I think it might have been 2016. And I remember saying, we were comparing the Savoy. The Savoy is a very famous hotel in London. And I was checking out their Instagram and I was looking through it. And I was comparing it to the company I work for's Instagram. Instagram was horse shit. It just looked like terrible little posters people had put together in a post. And I was like,
everybody's fucking throwing the Kelvin filter on there.
I was like, it wasn't even photos. It was graphical posters being like, come to our event.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And I was like, this is the window into our business. Like, this is the only way to showcase it. Check out the Savoys. It's like the equivalent of what you put in a magazine. Like, I didn't even know anything about social media at this point, but I was just like, compare, contrast. Yeah. So I remember like, this is what we should be doing. And I would love to learn it. I'd love to get in the mix with it. And the response I got in front of everyone way more senior than me, way older than me, the response I got was, you just want to be on your phone all day.
That's awesome. I got that with Spotify.
What the fuck?
I was at the label and I was like, I really think this Spotify thing is going to be a thing. I really think we should be paying attention to that. I said, we have somebody that covers that. And I'm like, I think we could do more. Don't worry about that.
And the woman who did social media was sat next to me and was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just saying what I'm seeing. I'm going as I see it.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the end for me. That was all right, I'm out. But that went from like, I was super, super comfortable in life. I could have done this till I was dead to, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm so lost.
Yeah, right.
But that's the best bit because then you get to climb again. And then you get way higher because you're on a climb all of a sudden. I wasn't on a climb.
Yes.
You got to start climbing from the fucking bottom and then come back past the point. And it took me a long time to get there. We'll get into that another day. So tell me then, throughout the podcast, you eventually got into starting your own label. Is that pretty linear in where we're at in your story right now? Because I'm very interested in that. Because that's a huge plunge to take.
You said a really important thing there, though. And just to that point, it's like the climb. one thing that I was telling you before we recorded this, because like the other day you're like, can we talk about this? Like we can, but I just, we'll talk. But I think that the thing that I said to you is like the last thing that I want to do in this podcast is come on and have it seem like I have it all figured out. So like, yes, I'm telling you this thing about purpose and I feel like I'm a lot more locked in on my purpose, but I also still feel like I am fully on the climb. Like I sometimes don't even know what the summit looks like. I just know I'm climbing the right mountain. So like that feels good, but like I don't want at all any of the things that I say to sound like, oh, here I am fucking figured to find purpose and your shit's great. Everything's awesome. Like it's not, it's just a fun climb now. At least I know I'm climbing the right mountain, but I think that that's an important thing to say. And we'll probably talk more about that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like just still climbing, bud. Still climbing.
So it's cliche. There's a lot of parables in the mix, especially from like us being both pretty good book readers at the moment, or at least in previous times. But yeah, it is like it's the whole enjoy the journey, and that took me a while to realize as a young, naive, egotistical kid, chips on his shoulder and all sorts. It was just like I would always look to Z, and I was sat on A, and it's like
yes.
What do you mean? Like Z is like you've accomplished everything and then you die? Like, what do you mean? How are you even going to fucking get that? I didn't even have a plan. I was like, I'm just going to be comfortable and work at this job. I didn't even know what the climb was. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't understand it. The wins, the losses, everything that comes with it. But the best thing is, and I know you led back to your purpose, it's like what I'm finding is that it is just never ending. Yeah. You have to enjoy the ride and you have to accept that you're going to lose that purpose. But the beauty of it, the same way when you go to the gym and you've lifted those weights before, you unlock it. And it's like, I found my purpose in the past.
Yeah. And it's going to change. Yeah.
I'm going to find it again.
Yep.
And you just become more resilient as a human as you go through.
Yeah.
And I think it's the struggles that you choose to take that prepare you for the struggles in life that you don't choose, things that happen, with the family. And for example, there's a hurricane going on in Florida right now, which I know you're from, and I know your dad's in the mix of it right now.
Yeah.
You as someone that I've known for pretty well for a year now, we've locked in. Like you seem to deal with anything negative better than anybody else I've ever seen. And I think it comes into the fact that throughout your story, you have chosen a lot of different crazy paths in life. You've chosen the hard thing of dropping out of college. Most people would see that as a negative. Like I'm taking a step back and everyone's going to care about, oh, Andrew's a loser leaving college. Like people worry about those things, which is not a thing. It's like you just chose to join the climb.
Yeah. I think like, again, we'll go everywhere and it's so hard with us because like we just talk like this all the time. But I know like kind of the through line of you asked about my journey, but the like doing the hard stuff and like dealing with like bad stuff better than others. Like I think that is maybe a thing that people get wrong about me a lot is like, they're like, oh, you're always so positive. And I'm like, for sure. But I'm like, that's a choice. Like, don't get it twisted. I've dealt with some really dark, sad shit and had some really heavy challenges in life. But I'm like, that's one thing you can control is like your attitude towards it. And as soon as you start to let it affect you, it brings everything else down. So it's like, that's your armor. Like you need to.
Yeah.
It's not like I've had this rosy life where everything's great. It's like, that's the one thing I control. The one thing I can control is like when life gives you all those blows, like you can choose to make lemonade.
Yeah.
Here we are. Let's see how many cliches we can say in one podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway, you asked if like the timeline.
But before we jump into that, Viktor von Frankl, A Man's Search for Himself. Have you read that book?
No.
You have basically anyone listening no longer needs to read that book.
Let's fucking go.
That's what it's about.
What's up, Vic? Shout out.
It's crazy. He was a psychoanalyst, a therapist in his 30s, captured by the Nazis and put in Auschwitz. And during his time
you told me about this book.
Yeah. During his time there, he was stripped of everything completely, including his hair. Like he had nothing. And he was surrounded by other people who had absolutely nothing to the name. And he realized in that moment, the only thing he has left is his choice to see this as a positive or a negative.
Dude.
And they changed his whole concept of therapy into this thing called logotherapy, which doesn't worry about the past. It worries about how you're going to look forward. Isn't that? And you've fully just
my guy.
summarized that.
Shout out. What's up? Basically a therapist, philosopher. Another thing I learned from the podcast is I've learned a lot of quotes and a lot of things from different people. A lot of people say similar things, but in their own ways. And sometimes it just hits different and you hear it later. It's like, Dennis Keskin is a great friend of mine. And he said, like, life will always give you waves, and it's a waste of time I'm fucking this up, but it's a waste of time to try to control waves, but you can learn to surf.
Yeah.
Right. Or like you were talking about going from A to Z. This dude, Adam Weiss, incredible guest. He used this analogy of like driving up a mountain and it's dark and you only have your headlights on. You only need to see the next turn. You don't need to see the whole mountain, you know? I think that's another cool thing with the podcast is you have these feelings and then other people affirm them in their sayings in their life. And you're like, oh shit, I'm not alone. Yeah. And that's cool.
And I love that. And I don't think it's cliche personally. I like lean into it.
I love it.
I know a lot of people might be like, oh, it's cringy you say those things. It's like, no, actually, I fucking live by these things a lot of the time. And I need that. That's been my,
I need the
push
affirmation
this through. Like,
to stay good. Positive. Like I need to hear that other people are going through it. And like, I need other people. So
yeah. Start on the label.
Okay. Yeah.
Hit me with that story. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah. So like you have this version of me. I come out to California. I'm lost. The label that I worked for didn't quite fit. I'm looking for purpose. I'm trying to figure it out. So a couple things happen all around the same time. The label happens a little bit before the podcast, but right in this same 2017, 2018 era. And I'm in San Diego. I have some incredible friends there that like, maybe like your golf friend is just like, we were just hustling. Like we were just working hard, trying everything. He's showing me all these YouTube videos and YouTubers and like really just like putting me on to this whole new era of digital business. And like, he just inspired the shit out of me. And this is in San Diego. And he basically was like, if you don't like your situation with the label, like go start one. And I was like, it's not that simple. And he's like, oh yeah?
Dude, he is Mitchell. That is exactly what Mitchell did to me. I remember he like pulled me over his house. He was like, here, Shoe Dog, read this book. I was like, all right. And 6 months later, I read it eventually. But like he was that and he was like helping with the Amazon stuff. How important is it, do you think, to have you only need one. You only need one person who backs you when you're down and backs you throughout.
I think it's so important. And I think podcasts are important for that reason because I know the times in my life that I haven't had that person, and podcasts and hearing other people's stories is all I have. Not everybody has that friend. Not everybody has a city like LA where everyone's trying to hustle and figure it out. And like, yeah, that's so important. And it wasn't until, well, I've had those people in my life in all sorts of different times, but yes, it's so important. And this friend pushed me in the label. And the label was nothing when I started it, dude. It was like social media accounts that were all the same name and a website, you know? But the label is called version 3, version III. And it basically was just this idea of I've worked at a label where I think they could do things better. If I had a label, what would I do? And it was this feeling of like traditional money spent is no longer necessary. You don't need to physically pay to make CDs anymore. You don't need to spend a ton of money to go pay an engineer or a producer because you can record on your laptop now, and people like that more. You don't need to pay crazy amounts of music for music videos because shooting something, FX3s weren't really around then, but like on a Sony or Canon digital camera or an iPhone does just as well. So like it was right at this time of the music industry really shifting, and you only needed digital exposure. So Spotify playlisting, POV, me at the label being like, I think we should pay attention to this.
And YouTube's a thing. So that music video, you don't need to be like, MTV, can you play this music? It's like, I'm going to post it myself.
Fully. So all of a sudden, my business model of a label is I don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for these expensive things. It's I need connections and I need a great network. And I need to really tap in with fan bases to get digital playlisting and to distribute this digitally the best way I possibly can. And then artists needed help with touring. And what do I know better than anything? Touring. So everything that the label did that I used to work at that I didn't think was necessary, so did these artists. So I just doubled down on digital and touring. And it really, like, the label was not a success up until this year. So this is like 4 or 5 years of like, I have this thing, it exists, I'm fumbling around, I'm figuring it out. And it's like, I'm doing 1,000 other things on the side. Like, God, that has been such an interesting, humbling reality of my life.
And I think to even hear that, because I know of the wins, and I hear, we'll get into it as well, because I'm a big fan of country music.
Hell yeah.
I know you know where that one's going to go. But it's a testament to like the fact that you stuck it out and you still do it. And whether it's not been successful or whether it's been able to pay your way, arguably never up until like this year, like you said, it blew up.
Let me share a crazier lesson.
Yeah, let's do it.
I stuck it out. But the only reason I stuck it out was having the best friends ever and having really cool partners. So the label goes for I call it 2018. I can never remember. I think it was the end of 2018 that it started.
COVID, man, fucked up so many timelines, isn't it?
No, but it was 2017. It was the end of 2017. The label kind of fumbled around and did whatever. And then around COVID, it was when my two partners in the label, Josh and Ben, got involved. And like, yeah, I did a couple tours. We had some sold out shows. We got a couple songs playlisted here and there. It was fun. But the lesson in the label is not sticking it out. The lesson in the label is rise up with the best people you believe in. Because Josh and Ben are the label now. Like, I had this vision. I started the beginning of it. I do some stuff on the back end now. But my business partners, Josh and Ben, they came from labels and they were my mentors when I was paying attention to Spotify when no one else would let me. And I was asking them, and I was like, you two are the best in the music industry. Like, your care, your passion, your network, like the fun you have with it. I'm like, you fucking have it. I admired the hell out of them. And then we're at dinner one night and they're like, oh, we were always so jealous of what you did with the label. And I was like, me? Like, I'm jealous of what you've done. And we partnered together, and I now am like, they are so much more the majority of the label. And it feels so good to make a thing and pass it off and work with people that are better than you and that inspire you. So like, the label didn't become the label until Josh and Ben.
Right.
And then that was still patience with them and us believing in each other. And then that's still, call that 2020, where that becomes a little more official. And it's still lightly official because they have regular label jobs and they have other, like, it's their side quest. So then 3-4 years later, we have our first like hit or our first song. But I think the lesson, if you're dissecting anything from version 3, is just start it and see what happens, but then lean into your people and empower people, and having a small piece of something with people that do it great is so much better than having the ego to just do your own thing.
Yeah.
So my lesson in the label is purely the people.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then that crescendo this year with Dasha.
Yeah.
I love that song. I've got a couple of boys in England, especially Gibby, who loves country music.
Yeah.
Pulled me on to like Morgan Wade. I don't know if you know, she's incredible. And then he put me on a Dasha.
Yeah.
He was like, "Have you heard this new tune?" I was like, "That's fucking sick."
Yeah. So,
and then as I'm listening to it, you come along and you're like, I can't even remember how you said it, but it was like, "Oh yeah, she's part of my label."
yeah, like we're having this song. It's going crazy right now. It's this girl Dasha, and you're like, Dasha? Like, what?
That was it. We were in the kitchen. Shock.
Yeah. Well, but again, okay, so come back to that. It's like, when I talk about Dasha and the label, I can take 0.5% of that success. Like, I don't want to talk about that like I did that. I want to talk about that like, holy shit, my friends are good at everything. But it comes back to an ethos that I believed in very early in the label, is good music, good people. Simple as that. I don't care about genres. I don't care about anything else. Even with Josh and Ben, like, they're good people. Like, I want to work with good people. I love people. I love inspiring good people. And one of the first bands that we had signed all together working on it was a band called Beauty School Dropout. And it was good people. It was a slight different genre, but it was like Josh and Ben are like, yeah, we could work. This was like rock when rock wasn't as popular.
Okay.
And it was like, nah, but this is fucking cool. This is fresh. So we do that. We work with them. They become family. We love those dudes. And then one of those dudes is like, yo, my sister has this project. It's country, right? These are conversations with Josh and Ben, right? Because Josh and Ben have built this trust. So Josh and Ben come to me and they're like, we have this country artist. And I was like, fucking no way. But like, I wasn't going to fight it. It was the opposite. I was like, is she cool? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, do you like the music? And they're like, it's dope. And I'm like, let's run it. So like, again, I'm not over here discovering Dasha. It's, we believed in good people and we did right by people. They did right by people. And then it came around.
With the butterfly effect in full course, without you starting version 3, that doesn't exist.
Sure.
And you can go back and there's credit, whether it's, I hear
and
you.
yeah, like maybe like the groundwork of like, let's always follow the common thread of good music, good people, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's what version 3 stands for. Let's keep it fun. Let's keep it fresh. For them, they had the same feeling of like, we've worked at these labels. There's all these rules, this red tape that's not necessary. And I had started this thing where I was like, I don't give a fuck, run it up.
Yeah.
And they're like, are we really about to spend this much money on this? And I was like, I don't know. Do you think it's cool? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, run it up. So
Good people, good music. If you were to say to Josh and Ben,
yeah,
what's the ethos of version 3? Would they repeat the same thing?
I do believe they would.
Brilliant. That's a big thread that I've been, since reading Simon Sinek Start With Why.
Yeah.
Evan put me onto this. And it was like one of the books that we were reading simultaneously as Millhouse was like
Yeah.
starting to pick up. But we were reading it whilst working for Veloce.
Yeah.
And that's so important, I think, to the people listening, to have a common goal, a why. Why does it exist ultimately? And you can always make any decision so much easier by, right, we're going to sign this artist. Okay, good music, yes. Good people? No. Not even
Doesn't
talking
work.
about it. All
Doesn't
right,
work.
good people? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the music good?
Yeah, right.
No. Good people,
yeah.
good music? Yes, sign it, done. That's it. And it makes decisions so much easier when you have that why.
Will you remind me to buy that book right when this
Start
ends?
with why. Yeah. I have it in the house, I believe.
Sick.
So I'll bring it over.
Both you and I on our podcast really should do the Amazon affiliate links for our book list.
We
Because
definitely
we
should.
talk about books a lot.
Should we get a co-affiliate link book list and just
Hog it.
send it out everywhere?
Please. We really should do that.
Because
Anyway,
yeah,
start with why. Yeah.
it's a great one. And we were working for a company at the time that did not really have a why. And I actually, while I was listening to that book, I was the head of marketing. I might have been social media manager at the time. I'm not sure what my role was. It changed all the time. And I sat every single person down in the company like this with a camera in front of them. And I was like, why does this company exist?
Wow.
And I was like pumped to make this edit, put it on LinkedIn.
This whole epic thing.
Reference this Start With Why book, Simon Sinek. And I sit down to edit. Nobody said the same thing.
Fuck.
Nobody said remotely close to the same thing.
That's a really cool exercise to do with the company. Why does Millhouse exist?
To be good for gamers.
Wow.
That's it.
So you have it.
We have it. We started with it.
Yeah, right. Good. I would hope so. To be good for gamers.
Is it
What's
good
that
for
mean?
gamers? Yes. All right, let's do it then.
Yeah. But what's that mean though? It's like, is it good for gamers? Like eating salad is good for gamers.
Yes, absolutely. We have the controller stands there because we want to promote putting the controller down and going outside. So the marketing campaign that we've got planned for that is going to start with someone gaming. And the first 3 seconds, they're going to put the controller down, blow the candle out, and you're going to follow their point of view of going surfing for the day. And then they come back, pick up the controller again, full loop. That's it. Like get outside kind of vibe. Like be good to yourself.
Right.
You're a gamer. We know you are. Like fucking love it. Go and eat healthy.
Right.
And we started off Millhouse with vitamins because Red Bull, Doritos, G Fuel, all of these companies would market to gamers. That was what was dominating the marketing budget, was these unhealthy brands. We're like, what if we made a brand that was good for gamers? And that's what started, and that's what stayed throughout.
Fuck, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's important to have that common thread to make something successful and to make it fun and to never get those like butting heads of like, oh, we're good friends, but now we can't make a decision. You hear of so many businesses where friends become not friends. And it's probably because they never had that why. And they just argue with egos. It's like, guys, what's our why?
Right.
That's the answer. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also too, like it's just another way of saying purpose, right? What's Millhouse's purpose? To be good for gamers, to help gamers. Like you're going to go to bed at night feeling stoked if you've made somebody that's passionate about gaming have a slightly better life. So it's like.
Speaking of purpose, what was the purpose that you were getting on that Lime scooter that one time?
Holy shit. Well, I broke my leg on a bird scooter on tour with Carly Rae Jepsen. It is not her fault that I broke my leg. Love you, Carly and team. Tav, shout out. But yeah, so I broke my leg on a bird scooter. More interesting than that story, I'll tie it in, is just like where that was in my life. I broke my leg on in July 2019. So the podcast has started. Yep. It's 3 or 4 months in. I'm doing my own label. Version 3 exists. And I'm starting to feel like I'm finding myself again. And I'm like, okay, I didn't like working at the record label. I'm doing my own label, but that doesn't make me any money. So I've got to do other work. Here's this opportunity to go out on tour really shout out Tony, her tour manager, who is a longtime friend of mine and very close to like my mentor in music and all this. But it was this opportunity to go and tour bigger than I ever had. And I really loved touring and I hadn't gotten to come back to it. I do the version 3 tour. It's awesome. And then I'm like, well, shit, what's it like to go tour? I guess it wouldn't be arenas, but massive venues. And it's incredible. It was so good. And I felt so alive. So I have the podcast going. I'm back in my stride. I'm like really thinking like, fuck, I found it again. I dyed my hair. It was like bright bleached blonde.
I saw it on the pod.
I was like, all right, yeah, new me. Let's go.
I did the same thing.
Oh God, let's go. It's so fun.
I had the platinum for ages.
Fuck,
dude.
I might do it again. But anyway, I really felt like I found myself and the label was going and I was running with a lot of these like the scene of music, the good music, good people that I was working with was SoundCloud. And like, I guess for like anyone that doesn't go deep in music, call it like SoundCloud rap. But like this wave of music that I was really inspired by. I really felt like they were pushing boundaries. It was awesome. So I'm like doing all this stuff. I love it. I'm out on tour with Carly and...
Is that Call Me Maybe? Was that when that's just blown up?
No. It's been blown up.
Oh,
but
wow.
like the people are still fucking coming out in droves.
Whoa.
Incredible fan base. It's amazing. And like I'm making a lot of money on it. And it was like fucking sick. I go to bed that night. We're leaving. I think we left from St. Louis. We go to Nashville. And I went to bed that night in the bus and I'm in the bunk. And I said, I can't believe my life is so good. And I woke up the next morning and I was just going to get coffee with Jimmy, our guitar tech. And, you know, I grew up skateboarding and all that. I'm always wilding out. And we're like, 15-minute walk, 5-minute bird scooter. Of course, we're taking bird scooters. I bomb this fucking hill as hard as I can. And I go to air a curb. Like I go to use a curb as like a kicker ramp at the end. I air that bitch so high. And somewhere in the air of the scooter, the front wheel like locks up. Like it happened so fast. But in my head, I'm like, did it think that the scooter was no longer on ground? So it's like not running. So it stops the brake.
It maxes out at 25 kilometers an hour. So when you kick
25 miles an hour, sir.
It's in the UK, it's kilometers. Oh. And for some reason on the scooters. And when he kicks it up, the wheel will keep spinning.
Yeah.
As a result, it's going 30, 40, 50. It thinks because no friction.
Yeah.
And that's what's
pulled
it.
Yeah. So there you go. So something like that happens. And I land and there was no moment of like, oh shit, I'm going to bail. But as soon as it lands, I endo off of it, catch my leg. And I thought I just like bruised it bad. I broke my fucking femur.
Jesus.
And dude, I had broke my femur once when I was 7. Like,
fuck, same one?
No. Dude, I'm aerodynamic, I'm lightweight, but I do not have strong bones. So that's one thing I'm not great at. But anyway,
milk, dude.
Dog, I know. I think it's too late though. I think you got to like do that as a kid. I don't know. But yeah, dude. So I endo on that and I fucking catch my hip and it hurt really bad, but I didn't think it was that bad. And I Uber back to the bus and I'm icing it, you know? And they're like, dude, like if you can't like work the show, like what are you going to do? Like bus calls at midnight. So I Uber to an urgent care. I get to the urgent care. The urgent care is like, what are you doing here? Like go to the hospital. You broke your leg. Yeah, dude. I don't know if I've told this story like in deep detail, but my friend Jake picks me up in his pickup truck from the urgent care and drives me to the hospital.
You're in like the bed of the pickup truck?
No, I'm sitting. It just hurts.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just fucking hobbling around and shit. It's terrible. And it's crazy because like we basically Googled the hospitals around us and like went to the one with the highest stars. Shout out American Healthcare.
Holy shit. Dude.
By the grace of God, this hospital has a grant where I qualify because I didn't have health insurance at the time. It was $100,000 bill. I had to get surgery.
You gotta like put something down and prove that you're good for that. Or do they fix you first and then they harass you for it after?
A hospital can't deny you care.
Okay.
But I'm just over there and I'm like, I went from having the best life ever to like, it all fell apart. Like, bro, think about this story. Like I was so fucking lost and I felt so bad. And finally it's starting to look up. And then it's like, here I am. And the thing is that night that I said, I can't believe my life is so good. I think I genuinely felt it. And I felt like this weird guilt. And ever since then, anytime I ever feel that, I stop and I'm like, fuck that. You're worthy. You deserve it. And it's not an ego thing, but it's like don't do that to yourself. Don't limit yourself. Like, you're good enough. You've earned it. You should be there. And I hope that everybody has that feeling of like, don't do that. Don't give yourself that negative self-talk. Like, that sucks. But anyway, so it was a really gnarly, again, dark time in my life where like I didn't know that grant was going to happen. And I went from like thinking that I had it. I had just made it out to LA. Like, it was starting to look up. And right in this, I'm faced with this again. And it was dark, dude. I couldn't walk for 6 months. And it was just like a really gnarly, dark time. But yeah.
You've been back on a Lime scooter or bird scooter since?
No.
Really?
No,
It's put you out?
Yeah, and I always joke, I say, respect your femurs. And I have to be responsible about it.
The way that you described, because I knew we were talking about Lime scooters and the feeling, the way that you were like, I'm flying, I'm on this bus, I'm on tour, I'm living it. Like, that good feeling, that's the feeling I have every time I'm on my Lime scooter.
Shit.
Me and Monib were on them in Indy just this weekend gone, flying home from where FX3 in my hand, like... But the best.
Don't run it up. I'm not saying not to ride.
But anyone watching who teeters the waters of a Lime scooter or any form of public transport that is one of those little scooters or your own private one, expect to crash. I don't know a single person who hasn't had a significant incident. I'll reel some off.
Yeah.
Evan got hit by a car twice. Nathan, one of my good friend's house buddies, went in the back of a van on the way home in London. I, half a bottle of whiskey deep, on the way home from a park after me and Evan had shared a bottle of whiskey at his place. I'm riding home and I'll be good. Korean and Evan like, you sure you don't want to stay? I'm like, no, I'm good. Left at 1 a.m. It's a 15-minute journey. 4 a.m. I wake up in the middle of a park, pitch black, like, what's happened? Get home, fumbling around, like, don't even know what day it is. My keys.
Full concussion.
My housemate Nathan, the night owl, is like watching me through the glass of our house door. And he's like, what's wrong with him? Why you can't get it? He opens the door for me. I'm pale white, pouring with blood out the side of my head, ears bleeding. I didn't remember what happened till like 4 or 5 days later, and I had a flashback. And I was like, oh my God, that happened. I went to jump a curb, and I went to jump up a curb. The back wheel gets hit, pushes me off. I go headfirst into a lamppost. Dong. I remember the sound of dong, a cartoon-esque out.
Dude.
Just completely out cold. Dude. Ended up having to go to the ER, checked it all out. I was fine. Big concussion, that was it. But Lime scooter. You're gonna
fuck you up. Our generation, I think that like that's gonna be a thing of like if you were to recap our generation, we'd be like, we got some extra scars from those.
Those things are lethal.
Yeah, that's funny that you still like them so much, but respect.
No, because it's a rush. Weaving in and out of traffic, chaos. I love it.
Well, anyway, yeah. So that shit fucked me up.
So I want to go into where we are right now. I know you touched on it at the start.
What is the space?
How do you describe the relationship between Millhouse and RS? There's two representatives from either side right now.
I think that you're a company that's being incubated by Race Service, but it was a very intentional thing. It's like you came to Race Service saying, we have a lot of the same values and synergies. Let's work together and we'll be a super low footprint and we can benefit each other very well. And I think that it is exactly that. And this room is a physical manifestation of that. So we're sitting in the back room of Race Service in Los Angeles. You and your brother are not from Los Angeles.
I'm from England.
Right.
My brother's from Canada.
Right. Yeah. Just an inside joke that everyone's like, okay, his brother, sure.
Yeah.
Your business partner, Evan, is, I would like to think of your brother. Anyway, this back studio is that. It's a dream come true. It's a space that existed in Race Service as a back room that wasn't fully being used. You guys wanted a streaming space. You wanted this like mixed multimedia space where you could stream, you could record, you could do photo shoots, all of that. And this came to be off of like a pitch deck and Jacob being like, hey, there's these dudes that might have this project. It could be some money to put the back room into a spot. He had always known that I was passionate about podcasting, and I had always dreamt of doing a podcast back here for myself, where all my friends, but also Race Service. So now here we are, and I'm sitting recording a podcast with you for your brand, Millhouse. And I feel like this is the beginning of something so special. And we can take this wherever you want, because we can talk about race service. We can talk about the podcast coming back. But I don't know
how,
where.
as a host of a podcast, you're like trying.
I know, it's really
I
hard.
feel like you're trying to do both jobs.
It's crazy. I don't, tell me, you do it. You do it. Sorry. I'm sorry. Did I answer this question?
You answered the question
so hard.
flawlessly.
Fuck.
So, and it's good to hear your point of view from it, because, like I say, we always just explain it the way we explain it. And I've never heard someone from RS say it recently. It's been a while. Like, it was always Jake, like introducing us to meetings, like saying like, oh, this is what these guys are doing.
Right.
They're going to be incubated out of space and so on. Now that they're established.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear what you said. This was a good way for the audience to hear it from an RS point of view. Yeah. And as a result, I want you to take me back to your inception into RS, because you said it yourself. It's like, if you're just interested in cars, if you're just interested in Ninja Turtles, like just pull the thread and see where it goes. And you never worked in cars your entire life.
No.
Did you have a huge interest in cars growing up? Is that what it was? And you just like a bit of a passionate?
It's my favorite thing in the world.
There we go.
Favorite thing in the world.
Okay.
If I were to simply say it, I've always liked music and loved cars. And for some reason, I just didn't know you could have a career in automotive. And the music thing kind of happened by accident, because I had dropped out of college. My friends started that band, and it was like the right place at the right time. And I really liked it. So it was fun, but like I didn't play music. I didn't aspire to be a professional musician. I aspired to like race cars and like be around cars. I love cars. I just didn't. I thought that was just a hobby. I just thought it was a thing that you could like. It's like, oh yeah, when you're successful, you can buy nice cars. Like, not even the idea that there's an industry around automotive.
Wow. That was the same with me in gaming, to be honest.
Oh, see?
I grew up as a gamer, I loved it. Never even crossed my mind that I could be in the gaming industry and do something. And then I got lost off on this path of work in hospitality, don't really have weekends anymore. Got even more buried in the mud of work and work and work.
Yeah.
Forgot it existed. So at what point did your path cross with race service?
So I'm in LA, I'm back in LA, I'm like on crutches, kind of hobbling around, recovering from my leg. The record label is existing, but like not enough to be a business. The podcast is back, but again, not to be enough to be a business. And I'm doing like a production management job for like a fitness supplement company as like a side quest, side income, which is certainly not my purpose and certainly not what I'm trying to do, but it was money. And somewhere in that, like I was kind of feeling lost again. And I was like, fuck, man, like I have these things that I like, but none of them are working enough. I love podcasting. Like, I don't know. And I had met James Kirkham, who's a co-founder of Race Service, at a car meet randomly, and he had told me about Race Service. And at the time, I didn't realize that it had just started when he told me about it. But he's like, yeah, come through. Like, we do events and coffee and all that. And then, like, right around that same time, a friend of mine was like, oh, I'm going to this event at Race Service. And I was like, what? That's the guy? So I was like, oh, I'll go. And as soon as I walked in the door, I was like, this is the sickest place I've ever seen. Like, I have dreamt of places like this. So it was like this moment of just like, what? Like, people think like me? Like, this thing is like something that I've always dreamt of doing and better in every way. Like, these people have thought about that thing that I've always dreamt of, but like they did it better. And this is way sicker. And I didn't even think about that. Like, who are these people? Like, what? That friendly James guy? Like, you did this? Like, you and your friends? So yeah, I'm like, I'm just instantly at that moment, I'm like, this is really special. And I didn't know it could be a career. It wasn't like I need to work for these people thing. It's like, I want to work with these people and like, I want to learn more about it. And it's like, everybody was so inspiring. And it was like, I found my people. Like, it was like the first time, and maybe that's early to say that, but I had a feeling that these were my people. And it was the first time I felt that since the band. So you have a pretty big gap. Oh, I guess some of the people I work with in the label. Yeah. And it was just really like, this is special. And I knew it. It was the same feeling of with the band. Instantly, I knew it was special. With RS, the moment I walked through the door, I was like, this is special. Instantly. And then it was like, I was doing my thing, my side quest, my jobs. COVID was right before COVID. And I just start thinking about it more and more. And I'm thinking about the podcast and I'm talking to more and more people outside of music. And originally, like how I got in was I was like, what if there was a race service podcast? And I went and met with Jake and I was like, what if there was a race service podcast? And he's like, yeah, that's cool. But like, I don't know if it's really like us right now. And then Rod was like, I've been interested in doing something, and that was Radical Strategies. And there's probably still some episodes up. They're really cool. And I helped Rod produce those. And that was my foot in the door at Race Service.
Wow.
And it was, again, it was a very interesting thing because I did that totally free. I was just really excited about what Race Service was doing. But here I am at this point, late 20s, probably 29, almost 30. And like, doing work for free, but I didn't care because again, it was this inkling of purpose in my people. And it was like, I don't know if there's a career in the automotive space. I still didn't think that far. I was just like, this is special and I want to be around it. So I'd come to Rise and Shines, I'd kick it with them. And more, like it was just, I showed up and I did work and I was like, I want to be around this. You guys are inspiring me. And I think back and I laugh now because like, there were moments in helping with race service projects, like one-off projects. They'd bring me in where it fit and I could help with like audio on things and I could help produce things. And like little by little they learn of like, oh, well, if he was a tour manager, he's a good producer. And like, oh, he records a podcast, he could probably record this car audio. But I would just like get tapped in for these little side quests. And every time I'd be like, should I quit everything and drop everything and come here? And like, chill. We don't have money like that. And I was like, all right, bet. Let me know though.
Until then.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
But it was just like, just being around it, like really, really inspired me. And it was like this fuel and this drive. And I just spent more and more time here. And it was like, just nothing was ever guaranteed. And I'm a big believer of like, don't work for people, work with people. It doesn't feel like clocking into a job. It feels like a blessing that I get to work with my favorite people all the time. But this bridge into the automotive industry does not exist without Race Service. But it comes back, this purpose, this curiosity.
And the learning.
Yes.
The fact that what you were learning during the podcast, you did that for purpose, but you're also learning the audio. You're learning the technical, the things that you have to do, the hurdles to get over to hit record.
Yes.
You're learning, and that does always build and become valuable when you're on that journey and when you're looking for purpose. And the tour manager, you're loving it, having a great time with it, is building your total purpose.
And all these past experiences, like it's like, what's that movie, Slumdog Millionaire, where they end up getting all the questions right? It's
what a film, by the way.
It feels like that though, right? It's like, I didn't know.
Great analogy.
I didn't know any of these past experiences would work. I was just doing my best with what I had. And then it was like, but that's the thing where it's like so much love to RS to be like, maybe you come from a different walk of life, but all those things fit. And like, that was almost them being like, no, it fits, over me being like, I promise it fits. So it's like, that's where it's like, I have this endless appreciation for everybody that gave me an early chance at RS to be like, yeah, like you could probably do this. And it's like, all right, yeah. And like all these then past experiences did work for it.
It's like the total opposite of when you're at the label and you're like, you're suggesting Spotify.
Yes, dude, yes. Yeah. And that's like, now I would say like a huge amount of my daily life and almost my entire career is in the automotive industry. It's like, I host events and it's like the podcast features people from this world. And I think it's more culture than automotive, but it's like none of that would have existed without RS and me being welcomed into that family.
But again, a lot of what exists as RS now wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for you. And the talents you've brought along. Like there's a networking element that I want to tap into because I do think when you look at different characters around the place, everyone's relatively mysterious.
Yeah.
And you have to scratch the surface to be like, why are you good at what you are good at? Like, where does this come from? There's all these weird little laws with each character.
Everyone here is an evolving Pokemon. It's like you see them and you're like, oh, Squirtle. And you're like, nah, you're a Blastoise. Oh shit. Yeah.
It's like, well, how did you become a Blastoise? What the fuck?
Yeah. Or you're low key a Blastoise, but like at first you're like, oh, this Squirtle over here. And like, wait a minute. Like it takes a minute to really get the depth.
No to evolving and just kept getting stronger and stronger. It's like Squirtle used fucking Hydro Pump. I didn't know you could learn that shit.
I love that we're this deep on Pokemon references. I didn't think I had it, and then you had the. Yeah, that's good. But I very much believe that of like everybody here is like incredible. You were saying though.
Yeah. So there's a world where I want to jump into your ability to network, and I imagine that's going to come from two different big areas. You've got the actual tour managing is like being able to talk to anybody and everybody and mitigate situations that are potentially stressful, turn them into fun. We're here, we're about to perform. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. Anything stressful, I take the brunt of, spit it out as fun. Like I can imagine there's been scenarios like that.
Yeah.
Podcasting, being able to converse with someone for 3 hours solid, keep a happy, smiling face. Like that's not easy when you're first getting into it.
Right.
It's not natural to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But whether it was natural to you or it became natural because of your experience doing the podcast, I want you to kind of tell me a little bit about the work that you currently do at RS, in particular stories, because right now I see you as this guy who has the strongest relationship with Porsche. To the point where Porsche's collaborating Instagram posts with you. What is that for you? And what do you think that secret sauce is, if you can put a finger on it for anyone listening?
Wow. I think it goes back a little further. It's something that I didn't touch on in my early days before the band and like just hustling. Like I had dropped out of school early and I grew up in a very wonderful family. I would say like middle class, you know, like it wasn't balling. Like if I wanted anything, I had to work for it. One of the jobs that I got in between college and school was a sales job. And I had this incredible mentor, this dude, Greg, and he was just a wonderful person. He passed away, but like a fucking legend. I love this dude. And he taught me a lot about sales. And I think learning sales was one of the most important things I ever learned. And I think sales is a very interesting thing. It's a superpower. And like, you shouldn't abuse it. Don't sell people shit they don't need. Like, but I think people associate that with, you're going to try to sell me something you don't need. What Greg taught me is like, sales is helping people. Sales is learning, understanding, talking to somebody and learning what they need and helping them get it. Sometimes you're selling the thing that helps them and maybe other times you're not. That is kind of besides the point, but the philosophy of that is like helping people, hearing what people need and solving a problem. And that was like that philosophy. And that's like kind of how he told me. And the product that he sold and we worked on was actually awesome. And I watched it help so many people. So it was like how to run dental practices and helping them, consulting with that.
Oh, cool.
So
like
I watched
B2B
it
vibe,
like,
yeah.
I watched it change these people's lives. So I had a very positive impression of sales. And I don't want to twist that and like make it be like, I'm a salesman guy. Because I don't like that. And I don't want people to think like, oh, he's just trying to sell me a thing. But
like
it just taught me genuine connection.
Skill trees. You just
right.
push
that
them
was
out,
another one,
and
right?
that's it. Then it remains with you and it rounds you as a person.
And I think I saw like the good and bad side of sales is like through that, like you see people like slimy and manipulating people, and I'm like, fuck that, like that's terrible. So like my fuck you to that is like be the best. And I think that just taught me communication. It taught me networking, and it taught me how to do it in a good way where people win. So I would not have any of these relationships that I have and these projects you're talking about, again, if it was not for race service. Mm-hmm. And I can't stress that enough, because like when you're lost and you're looking for that purpose, like if people don't give you chances and don't give you a platform to show your skill, it's so hard. And like what RS is and the fact that it lets young talent come in and show that and shares that, like Jacob said it, he's like, I am not a gatekeeper. I am a gate opener. But it's like, you have to be a good person to have him open a gate for you.
Yeah.
So it's like all of those come from that. And I literally cannot say it enough. Like I'll never, ever forget it, because it's like, that was that next chapter. That's that next purpose. It's that next thing of like, oh my God, you're giving me a place to be good at a thing I'm good at. So it's like, now put Andrew in a room and let him talk about cars. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, I love it. And it's that simple, because I finally found my place with my people where I can do a thing that I'm good at and passionate about it. But that wouldn't have happened with all the right people, without all the right people. I believe in RS so much, and I think it's such a good thing. And with the best people and my favorite people. So when I meet people that could use this superhero team, it's not like, I'm like, you have to meet my friends. Like your company might do stupid shit if you don't meet my friends, and we can fix that. Let's do cool shit together. It's going to be better. I promise. Have you met them? They're so cool. So like it comes from such a passionate place. And I think for anybody, like the networking thing or like any of that is like, don't do things with bad people. Don't try to pitch or sell or connect pieces that don't fit. But when you're around a bunch of really cool people that are the right fits, it's as simple as like, hey, my friends should be friends. Yeah. And don't try to like manipulate it. Like it was like all of the successful things that I've done here and connected come from such a place of, I heard you, like I'm listening, I'm having a conversation. You're saying a thing where I'm like, I think me and all my best friends here could do a cool thing with you. Do you maybe want to try it? And it's literally that. And if it's not that, then we shouldn't do a thing together.
I love that. That's an amazing approach.
And it's shout out to RS for even giving me that voice and letting me speak on behalf of the brand, because I am not the brand and I did not start it. So it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be able to tell other friends about all my favorite friends. So that's like that thing. And I think when people approach it from that level, it's really easy.
Have something that you're good at selling.
Yeah.
And genuinely back and believe that it's going to help people.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, go and sell something different.
And that's where it got hard for me with that last label. Like when I left that label, I was like, I didn't want to sign bands to it because I didn't think they were going to be helped.
There we go.
And then like, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good to like sell the dream to a band and be like, you're going to get shelved.
Yeah.
People are going to forget about you. You're going to put an album out that doesn't do as well, and they're not going to care. And to sit down at dinner with these artists that have one chance and have that in the back of your head.
Wow.
I don't think that's rad.
Yeah.
So like I had to leave. But I think for me, if I am going to connect people, it's like when I believe in a thing, it's just like, yeah, like this is it. And I'm sure there's people that are better than us and different things, but it's like
different. It's not, there's no better, there's no worse. It's just like,
but it's like, I believe in
what we're
this.
doing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I really am genuinely passionate about this. And I think you could apply that to anything. Like when I talk about the label, when I talk about Jumble, when I talk about my podcast, when I talk about RS, it's like, I'm doing my best over here and I really believe in this thing. And if you want to like be a part of it, hell fucking yeah.
And if not, respect.
Yeah.
So with all of that context out there, right, what's been your pinch me or proudest moment whilst working at Race Service? Considering you've come into this door and you've opened the gates of Shambhala through the RS gate, and you're like, where the fuck, what is this?
Yeah.
And credit to you, you've walked in at that moment. You haven't left it to come back another time. It's like, I'm here and I'm staying here. From there, like, if you could show that Andrew who walked into Race Service for the first time, be like, yo, this is what you're going to do when you're here. What would you show him?
Fuck you. That's so hard. That's so hard.
Think of it as a privilege. You get to show Andrew, who's about to leave RS, maybe the butterfly effect's going to happen. He's going to leave and never come back. What are you showing him? One thing to make him stay.
There's just so many, like, there's a lot of things that I've really loved. Like it's.
I bet. I know.
This fucking guy. All right. Porsche brand store with Nico or ornamental conifer, because of what it represents. I love Porsche. It's my favorite automotive brand. It's a brand that I respect. I love RS. We've just talked about this. I love Nico. I love Conifer. He's a lot of the visual language of this place, and he's this beautifully gifted artist who's like visiting Yoda. Like he's just this wonderful human.
What a great
Every time
way.
I talk to him, I'm just like, oh wow.
Visiting Yoda.
Yeah.
That's so.
You go into his studio. I think so. I don't know if he's a big Star Wars guy. I think it might have been lost on him, but it's like, yeah, you go over to Endor.
Even
and
if
you're
he
just
wants
like,
to watch the Star Wars, he'd just be like, huh.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. Yeah. But it's like when you need that little wisdom. But we did this project where it started, it's this long running thing. And again, it's this crazy moment of James. Like James met Basti forever ago when he was working with GoPros. Basti gives him a chance. Basti's on Porsche Motorsport. They stay longtime friends. Basti sees what James is doing with RS. He hits us up to do a clothing collection when the Porsche brand store is opening. We do this incredible clothing collection, something I'm also very proud of.
So the embossed cream on cream one.
That's right. Yeah. Catch the racing
dude,
feeling.
that's like my favorite tee.
Yeah, dude. So that project, and it builds this, it's the start of this relationship with them, and everyone could see how passionate I was about Porsche and that project. So as that relationship grew, I had stayed very close with those people and those projects. And then there was an evolution. So the store flipped and they were going to do a redesign. And it was this like very California, like bring the warmth and the vibes of California to Germany.
I've seen that. You did a podcast episode with Max.
That's right.
In that store.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And the task was like, basically, in short, bring race service to Germany. Bring race service to the Porsche brand store. And like, no, by now you probably realize I like race service. I like Porsche. So I think that moment is we got to bring all of Conifer's art and a very, very strong presence and feeling of race service across the world to the flagship store of a brand that I love. And also the screen where you'd press it and you'd open the door and you'd see all these different cars. Those cars were friends and community that I've gotten and met through RS. So it's like you're putting your friends' cars in this place. And it was just like all these great ideas. We did clothing, we did media. It was like a really thoughtful, full service campaign. So if I were to say to any version of Andrew of like in any part of it to be like, look at this, I'd like that just feels like a moment that is such a cultivation of all my favorite things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good one. Honestly, in my mind, I thought you were going to do the 9/11 on 9/11 at 9/11.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool little semi-viral moment.
Our most viral reel. Yeah.
I didn't know the story that you've just told me. And as a result, now that you've told me, I fully get that. Like,
yeah. And it's like,
that's amazing.
Right. And the 9/11 on at 9/11 a.m. in a 9/11 on September 11 was a project with that same group of people that was another evolution of it. So it's like you think about some of the people that you've done so many projects with and built these relationships with, and that's another evolution of that.
And I know it's about the people. And I know like when you say it's so hard to pick one, but if you just showed that Andrew walking through the gate, a bunch of people, he'd be like, who are those guys? I don't even know them yet. Like,
but also
you got to show the manifestation of like, here's a conceptualization of what you can achieve when you hear.
You know what's funny though is like I tried to kind of give you the like punchy, like, whoa, that's so cool and glamorous. The other moment that I had that I kind of wanted to say is there's a feeling as the sun is setting, like that twilight hour at race service, where you're fucking beat. Like you've come back from a shoot, you've gone to battle with all your soldiers here, and everyone is just here and like preparing or unpacking gear, and you're just here at this space. And I've never felt more present and more appreciative than those moments. So like if I could capture just that feeling of being here with all the squad, that's kind of actually what I want to answer, but I don't feel like it's as like, whoa, they did a big project.
Like, I think I agree with you, by the way. That's a feeling of what the fuck. Anyway, I felt that the first time I ever came here on the quadrant shoot.
Yeah.
And before we even moved to California. And I recorded a video that day. I stole the Super 73 bike that Mikey had designed to go rip around the block.
Yeah.
And I recorded a video and I ripped around the block. And I was like, I've been here a day, but I'm telling you right now, I'm moving here. Like, this is like set a fucking fire in my belly. And it's because that is exactly what you described. That's what I was experiencing there.
Yeah.
We were setting up for this shoot.
Yeah.
Everyone was turning down for the day. People were cranking out different things, moving cards around, setting up arcade machines in there, steaming clothes over in this corner. Nico's in his bay doing his thing. Everyone's shutting down, leaving. The sun's setting. Yep. It fits in perfectly with the paint of the blue and the pink on the side, the air, the warmth, like the music, the whole thing is impossible to show someone.
Yep.
They have to feel it.
Yeah.
So without being able to drag that Andrew into a different time zone, you wouldn't have been able to show him it.
Yeah.
And then you're right, that is the most amazing thing about RS. And we're very fortunate to be able to feel that.
Yeah.
And we had a similar one when there was a moment where Evan and I were changing like the head gaskets or something on the truck.
Yes.
And like it was
that Saturday.
We came in on a weekend, and out of nowhere, this weekend was just like flooded with people.
Lit. I have a video from that day.
Crazy day, yeah. James was working on the car. You brought your car in. You changed your exhaust, but it wasn't that exact day.
No, Louis was working on the Evo. What was I doing? I was like getting ready for another shoot or something. Like I came in needing to like get something, and I'm like, what the fuck?
That was it. Yeah. And then there was another night where we worked on your car.
We should cut that video in.
Yeah, let's do it.
The hectic video.
I've got a bunch of videos from that day as well. Yeah. And that's impossible to replicate.
Yeah.
And that's a good answer. Flip that. What's been the hardest times during RS, especially when it comes to work related? I think that's important, but if it's a personal side, also open to that.
The hardest times when it comes to RS, I think like learning how to say no.
Here.
Okay. There is endless opportunity and excitement, and we hold ourselves to a really high standard when we do a project. And the magic of RS is the ambition and it's the drive and it's pushing yourself past what you think you can do. That's where there's growth, and there's endless amounts of that here. But the hardest parts is like, because I talk all about this passion, this purpose, right? There's very few times where I'm doing a project where I'm not inspired and in love with the thing, or it's not, maybe there's times where it's just a bunch of bullshit emails and accounting and stuff like that sucks. Nobody loves that.
You got to
like,
learn to love that though.
Yeah.
That's like
I don't know, maybe.
Every
like,
job's got bullshit.
Yeah, right. But like, it's all coming from a place of we're probably doing this accounting and these emails because we came back from doing a thing we loved or whatever. I think the hardest thing is that balance. It's like almost like a dog that would have endless dog food, right? And like, if I was like, is there a jumble play in there? Stop. But like, if you say yes to something and you don't execute on it fully at the level of race service, you're going to let your favorite people in the world down. And I had that early experience. There was a campaign working on some stuff with people, and I bit off more than I could chew. And that fucking hurt. Like, it feels bad to let your people down, especially when it's a team this hardworking and all that. And I'm really hard on myself with that. And I think that that's like a life thing, like something that I was going to kind of conclude this podcast is like, all of this, like, I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I'm still climbing the mountain. Like, I don't know the end game. I know I'm happy right now, but like, I'm always ambitiously trying to do things. Your boy's got to get a GT4. I don't even care about material things, but I should have that car. Anyway, I'm still a student of this. I don't have it all figured out. I'm still learning, and I have my goals. I have my ambitions, but when you try and you bite off so much and you're in it and you've just, now it's time to deliver, there are so many sleepless nights. And I mean, long days. And like tomorrow morning, I'm waking up way too early to go do a shoot to promote part of the project that I'm working on that I believe in. And I'm coming back from a Porsche Germany shoot, and there's still things to finish on that. And it's like, these are all the best problems in my life. But if I don't keep delivering and I don't hold true to my word, I'm going to let down my favorite people. And it's like, that's been one of the most interesting things about finding your purpose and getting the chance to do it, is once you get that chance, you have to deliver.
And if your sales philosophy is this is going to be good for your business and you don't uphold that,
then fuck me. Like, then I'm an asshole.
And you got nothing to sell.
Yeah, it's like Mikey said it on a podcast. It's like, people can open a door for you, but it's your job to stay in the room.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you say you're going to do a thing to be in that room, you have to do it. And it's hard. Because the more you grow and the more success you get and the more people you meet, the more people will expect from you.
Yeah.
And it's on you to be real with people and to say no when you can't, because they're probably not going to hate you if you say no. They're probably going to think worse of you if you say yes and then don't deliver.
Yeah.
And it's been a really interesting, humbling journey to find my limit, because I always like to be busy. I always like to do a lot. You hear the story, but like, there's been times where like I have just had my tail between my legs and I'm like, guys, like, this was too much. I don't feel that right now. I feel like I've got a lot to do, but it's like, if you're talking about hard parts, the hardest, it's that. It's just that balance. Yeah.
No, I like that. And it's true. And I think it's important to find that line though.
Yeah.
I know you said that you got to find it because you want to be uncomfortable.
Yes,
you
you're
want to
growing
be
when you're
biting off a
uncomfortable.
lot. Where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to swallow this.
Totally.
And then when you do, you're like, fuck, I did
Yes.
that. Like, let's go.
That's why it's that challenge. You're on the fucking razor's edge of it.
Exactly.
Always.
But I think that comes with it. I think if that's the game you're playing, and you're trying to find the line, you're going to cross it. You have to cross it to find it.
Yep.
Or else
you are.
It could just be, it's Schrodinger's cat. Until you cross it, you haven't found it.
Dude, but then it's like you come into another like huge thing of my life is like, surround yourself with the best people in the world, because when you do fail and when you fuck up or when you need the help and you have the good people in your life, they're there for you. And when you don't, they're sitting there saying, I told you so, and they're not helping you. And I've experienced both, because like I've been at different times of my life in different companies where they've been that. And I think the people in my life, race service plus, like my girlfriend that I get to do all this dope shit with, my extended friends, everyone, it's like, when you do feel pressed and you have those people. So like, that's another life lesson I've learned is like surround yourself with the best people. Because then when you fail or you get close to it, you have the best support system ever.
Like we said it earlier, like you just need that one sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a position where you want to change your life and do something different and follow a different path and no one's backing it, then it just takes one person to be like, hey, I back you to do that.
Yeah.
I think you should try and keep pushing and keep pushing and pushing. And if you don't have that person, you can find that online. You know, you can listen to these motivational speakers, you know, the Gary V's of the world.
Fully.
The Jordan Petersons are going to push you through. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's so much better when it's someone that knows you because it's real.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm here physically.
But I do encourage, like, there were times where I knew I needed that and I didn't have that person. And it was books and podcasts that gave me that gas. So like, by all means, like scour podcasts, find your people because like there's value in that, massive.
And you mentioned books, and that's a big topic I want to go into because I mentioned it earlier. I was given a book, Shoe Dog, by Mitchell. It was like, read this book.
Let's go.
It's, at the time, I was like, I don't know if I can read, man. I can't. I'm just like heavily dyslexic. I was the kid at school where the teacher's like, right, someone's got to read out this. It'll be like, Mickey. Because they knew I was going to read it fucked up. And it'd be hilarious. And I'd be like, all right, let's do it. You want to hear this shit? And it would just be complete nonsense because I'd read a word and put it in a different place. So I'd never read. I can't remember why, but I had this book from Mitchell. Shoe Dog sitting there. And one night I was like, all right, I guess I'll open this book. And it completely changed my life.
Sick. It's such a good book.
Burned through that book in 2 nights and I was captivated. And there was something about, I was reading the story of Nike. I know what it's going to be. I know what it's going to become. But I'm like, when is this going to happen? The trials, the tribulations that bloke went through. Like, it just set my imagination on fire. I felt like I was with him on this journey. I didn't know a book could do that and get so deep because it is fully just pictures inside of yourself, you know? And up until that point, the biggest motivational things I would have is like The Social Network, one of my favorite films of all time. And then you have a soundtrack that comes with that and you have visuals and a lot. And, you know, you feel this humming and this burning coming from the soundtrack of like something great is about to happen. I didn't think a book could give you that. But this book did. And it was like, as soon as I put it down, I was like, what's next? What is the next book? And that set me away on this journey that really did change my life in so many different ways. Because some of these books have given me so many good philosophies. And I want to dive into those views. Like someone listening who maybe is a massive reader and needs something new from a recommendation or doesn't read at all and looking to get it. What books would you recommend as like a starter pack?
It's hard because I think like it depends on where you are in your life of like which ones are going to resonate, you know, like, so it's like, is there really like the path or whatever? But a couple that like stood out as early books that I read or whatever. Shoe Dog is a great one. I really liked Good to Great by Jim Collins because it was like a dude that dissected businesses and he was like obsessed with finding what made certain businesses great and not good. And I was like, I felt like I had this great experience with this band and then I worked at a good business of a label. So I was like, that just resonated with me a lot. And I read it early. I think Outliers.
You'd gone from great to good. Yeah. You wanted to go
and I was like, can I get
great.
back to that? How do you do that? So I really like that. And I feel like it's like a timeless business book. A lot of people reference it. I really like Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I know people kind of talk back and forth on him and you can kind of disprove some of his things and all that. But just for being early into book game and like hearing some of those philosophies, I felt it was like super helpful. I mean, a lot of people reference 10,000 hours.
Of course.
It was made popular by him. He can't take that credit, but just the idea of if you put 10,000 hours into any specific thing, you're probably going to become great at it.
Exactly.
Loved that. So like, there's like good principles in that. You and I bonded a lot over Ikigai. I think that that's like,
no, that one. Yeah. That one's Ikigai.
Yeah. Right. Shit. I'm responsible for a tattoo of yours?
Yeah, so I, at the time, had read Itchy Go Itchy.
Yes.
And you were like, nah.
Nah. Yeah.
Have you read Ikigai?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, not yet. But I honestly, when you told me about it, I was like, it's going to be so similar.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned Ikigai in this.
Yeah.
And that's the only book to date I've read front to back simultaneously.
Wow.
As soon as I finished it,
Run it again. Yeah.
And I ran it again. I've only ever done that with that one book.
Sick.
And yeah, Ikigai, I would recommend to everybody.
I think so, because it's like Japanese philosophies of just like living a happy, fulfilled life. So it's like anybody wants that. So and it's cool. Like it's very digestible. It's super easy. Good concept. Kevin Lyman, the founder of Warped Tour, recommended that to me. He teaches a college class and he makes all of his students read it. And I'm like, you beautiful soul.
Oh my God.
So that like has
That's
extra
so
meaning
good.
to me. Yeah. So it's super cool. I love that book. I think you and I also bonded over the Almanac of Naval.
Yes.
That's a really good one to me. I think a lot of times, a lot of things that people chase is happiness and money. You know, like those are things of fulfillment, purpose, and success of money. And I think that book touches on both really well. And dude is just a genius. I think it was Eric Jorgensen that like consolidated all of Naval's like speaking, because Naval didn't write the book. He just has a lot out there and he consolidated it in an incredible way. I thought it was a good one.
It was really well written as well, and the way you can digest it and break it down. It's not like a full, it's almost like these parables and different tweets he references and so on. Like it's so good. And it is like that wealth building.
Totally.
It is that long-term thinking, that happiness, like
I kind of
searching. And,
I dance in that like philosophical, like self-improvement life and then business growth. So like I'm kind of back and forth. And then another one on like the life side that I really liked was Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Not read that one.
Oh, that's for sure. Do that. And I read that around COVID and it was like, it kind of made COVID a game of like, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? Like, here's this objective bad thing. Where's the silver lining in this? And it's like, I read it, you know, that's all happening. I'm recovering from my leg. Like I dealt with a lot of bad shit. And it was like a very good book of like, all that bad stuff is actually like the best stuff. So that was like a special one. But again, I read it at the right time in my life. So
I think that's important. And I think that is something for people listening. If you do have a bunch of books that you think, oh, I'm going to like that, and you pick it up and you put it back down.
Yeah.
That's not a negative.
Yeah.
Try it again later in life and it might resonate different. Or more importantly, I know you touched on it earlier, it's this case of like, you're always learning.
Yeah.
I'm going to read Ikigai every year until I die.
Yeah. Sometimes like you're not ready or sometimes it's,
you're a different person.
Yeah.
And that's the itchy go itchy vibe was, if one guy stands in a river every single day, it's never the same scenario. Yeah. He's not the same guy and it's not the same river.
Yeah.
And you can always learn. And that's what books are. And I know I'll read like a chunk of a book and I'll like close it and I'll be like done with it for months.
Yep.
And then I'll need that again. Cause you can get the concepts for a lot of these books, the style that we read, you can get the concept in a handful of chapters, but then you need that again in life. So if I haven't finished it, I'll pick it up and be like, oh my God, I need this again. You never this completed project.
You just gave me like another like whole core little piece of Andrew and why books are so important of like when you are lost or like when I was trying to discover and like kind of like hone in, it was like the mindset of like doing little things that help you be a little more yourself or a little better. I think it's like your mindset, your energy is going to attract different energies. So if you're down on life and you're not thinking big and you're not feeling it, you're not going to attract those people around you. So when I was the most down, another podcast that I loved was Short Story Long, massive inspiration. And he had talked about like how he hated running and he was smoking. And he's like, I just like to get out of a rut, all I did was just run every day. I hated it. So if I could do that, I could do anything. It encouraged him. And I was like, okay. So then I started to like go to the gym and read. And that was like, okay, my life isn't where I want it to be.
You go to the gym and read?
Because I read books and I know where to read them. No, I just two things that I would do.
The way you said that, I figured I would go to the gym and I would
read every, like going to the library. That's where you get books is the gym, right? Because I've read a book for sure.
I would go to the library and I would lift.
I would go to the library and I would deadlift so fucking heavy you wouldn't believe it, cousin. Yeah, so like those were my two habits, and it like kind of just started to bring out like I was thinking bigger, I was like happier, and then that started to attract better energy and all that. So I think like another piece of like the sharing something in this podcast is I think that's why books were so important to me. It was like when I was a little bit lost, it was a reminder and it was reaffirming when you need it. And that's also why I love it. So to your point, it's like maybe certain books aren't going to resonate at the right time, but like fuck around and find some that do.
Exactly. And I fully back what you've said. I've got the creative act, Rick Rubin, that I'm like maybe 4/5 through.
Yeah.
And I don't want to finish it because when I'm in that scenario and I'm like, oh, it's a Sunday.
Yeah.
I've got a big week coming up. Maybe it's not confident in whatever. Like, and I'll see the book. It's always on my bed.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, all right, Rick,
dude,
what you got, dude?
Crazy example of that. I don't really care about that book.
Really?
And I'm not discrediting it. That's a moment of like, it's not it for me right now.
Yeah.
And I picked it up and everybody spoke so highly of it. And I was like, okay, hell yeah. And it's cool. And I like, I know it's good, but I intentionally was like, I'm coming back to this and it's going to hit so different sometime. So I think there's something really special about that too, of like have faith in when you read it. Books are tight. Read them. I love them.
No, for sure. And I would always be that guy who's like, I don't read.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to like forever a learner. And
Yes.
I did think I didn't need to learn anything else after university. I was like, I can't wait to be done learning.
Yeah.
Sick of this. Like
Yeah.
sick of being told what to do and how to do my life. And I, for a long time, became a non-student. And that was my biggest failure, I would say. And to a point where I realized I now have to be a student for the rest of my life. Like,
fuck, dude, that's bars. Yes. It's that.
yeah.
It's like very humbling, but it's beautiful because like when you're like, no, I forever have to do this. Like you have to stay sharp. But then like when you accept it, it's wonderful and it's so fun. And I think that forever a student thing is a theme of like, it feels great to be in your pocket and to have a flow and all that. But like, man, there's so much more to figure out. Like the last thing that I'd want to do on this or any podcast or any way I present myself is like, I don't have it figured out like that. And like, I just love learning. So.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's how we'll close it out.
But I think you should encourage people to 5-star, but also share it and tell friends. Just genuinely tell friends because this shit's sick and I believe in it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your motivation to help us build this room out.
And you're going to do mine where all my friends is going to come back and you're going to be a guest on that.
We'll switch seats.
We'll switch seats and I'll guide it and I won't be so gosh darn, or no, I probably will be as neurotic, but then like I'll have a reason to be.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I was an awkward host guest.
Absolutely not, dude. It's a pleasure as always.